Welcome back. Yesterday, we considered the faith of the Caesarean centurion who obediently sent to Joppa for Simon Peter, who would be lodging at the house of Simon the tanner. Now, interestingly, while that was going on, Simon Peter, after raising Tabitha from the dead, chose to stay in the city of Joppa rather than going back to Lydda, and then chose to stay at the house of Simon the tanner. What a coincidence. I find it as an interesting reminder to me many times that those things which appear to be coincidences in my life really are the working of God, preparing me for something that He has for me to do in the future. We see this working out in Peter's life in Acts chapter 10, beginning of verse 9, as Peter, on his part, is being prepared for what is about ready to happen to him. So beginning in verse 9, we read, "The next day, as they," that is the contingent coming from the centurion, from Cornelius, "as they went on their journey and drew near the city," that is Joppa, "Peter went up on the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. Then he became very hungry and wanted to eat. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance, and saw heaven opened, and an object like a great sheet, bound at the 4 corners, descending to him and let down to the earth. In it were all kinds of 4-footed animals of the earth, wild beasts, creeping things, and birds of the air. And a voice came to him, 'Rise, Peter, kill and eat.' But Peter said, 'Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything common or unclean.' And a voice spoke to him again the 2nd time, 'What God has cleansed, you must not call common.' This was done 3 times, and the object was taken up into heaven again. Now, while Peter wondered within himself what this vision which he had seen meant, behold, the men who had been sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate. And they called and asked whether Simon, whose surname was Peter, was lodging there. While Peter thought about the vision, the Spirit said to him, 'Behold, 3 men are seeking you. Arise, therefore, and go down and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them.' Then Peter went down to the men who had been sent to him from Cornelius, and said, 'Yes, I am he whom you seek. For what reason do you come?' And they said, 'Cornelius the centurion, a just man, one who fears God and has a good reputation among all the nation of the Jews, was divinely instructed by a holy angel to summon you to his house and to hear words from you.' Then he, that is Peter, invited them in and lodged them. On the next day, Peter went away with them, and some brethren from Joppa accompanied him." Peter was instructed by the Lord in a vision while he was praying. The Lord met Peter where he was, preparing him to go to the house of a Gentile. You need to understand that that was something that would have been very offensive to a Jewish man. Additionally, I think it's interesting to note that Peter needed to hear this 3 times. It seems to be something about Peter in threes. It reminds me a lot about me. But in the end, Peter listened and heeded the instruction given to him. When the men came, he allowed them to stay with him for the night. Remember, one of those 3 men was a Roman soldier, a Gentile. And then he went with them the next day without questioning. Peter overcame his prejudice towards others through prayer and obedience. As a Jew, he would have a disdain toward a Gentile. And even then, more so, toward a Roman soldier. But in obedience, he heeded the voice of the Lord. Through his prayer in time with the Father. This obedient step of Peter would be used not only in the conversion of Cornelius and those whom he invited to his house to hear the words of Peter, but also it was Peter's testimony of going to the house of Cornelius that would add weight to God's working among the Gentiles through Paul. In Acts 15, we read of the Jerusalem council where they were determining what God was going to be doing through the Gentiles. And Peter reminded them that it was actually God's working through him that opened up the gospel to the Gentiles. So again, I need to ask myself, how obedient am I to the voice of the shepherd? Am I listening for his voice? And when I hear it, when I sense that God is calling me to do something, how quick am I to respond in obedience? I want to encourage you today to enjoy some sweet fellowship with the chief shepherd of your soul and to listen for his voice. And when you sense the Spirit speaking to you, giving you an instruction, to heed without delay. Go pray and have a blessed day.